बुद्धिज़्म, जैनिज़्म एंड अदर रिलीजियस आइडियाज़। ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है इसका? आफ्टर स्टार्टिंग दिस यूनिट यू शुड बी एबल टू नो अबाउट the background to the rise of the new religious ideas during the 6th century BC, the emergence and growth of Buddhism and Jainism, the main tenets of these religions, the influence these religions came to wield on contemporary society, the other heterodox ideas prevalent in the 6th century BC, and the significance of these religious movements. Introduction. The 6th century BC was an important stage in Indian history as far as the development of the new religion is concerned. In this period, we notice a growing opposition to the ritualistic orthodox ideas of the Brahmins. This ultimately led to the emergence of many heterodox religious movements. Among these, Buddhism and Jainism developed into well-organized popular religions. This unit attempts to analyze the emergence and significance of these new religious ideas. Firstly, it deals with the factors that were responsible for the emergence and growth of heterodox ideas. Then it goes on to explain how Buddha and Mahavira tried to find a solution in their own ways to end human suffering. Since the causes for the emergence of these two religions are common in nature, there is some similarity in the principles adopted by these religions. However, they differ completely on some of the basic principles. We have discussed these points in the unit. The other heterodox religious ideas, which were current during the 6th century BC, have also been dealt with. Finally, we examine the impact of these religious movements on contemporary economy and society. Rise of new religious ideas. The new religious ideas during this period emerged out of prevailing socio-economic and religious conditions. Let us examine some of the basic reasons which contributed to their emergence. First, the Vedic religious practices had become cumbersome, and in the context of the new society of the period had become in many cases meaningless ceremonies. Sacrifices and rituals increased and became more elaborate and expensive. With the breakup of communities, the participation in these practices also became restricted and as such irrelevant to many sections in the society. Growing importance of sacrifices and rituals established the domination of the Brahmins in the society. They acted both as priests and teachers, and through their monopoly of performing sacred religious rites, they claimed the highest position in the society, which was now divided into four varnas. Contemporary economic and political developments, on the other hand, helped the emergence of new social groups which acquired considerable economic power. You have seen that merchants living in cities or even rich agricultural households possessed considerable wealth. Similarly, the Kshatriyas, whether in the monarchies or in the Ganasanghas, came to wield much more political power than before. These social groups were opposed to the social positions defined for them by the Brahmins on the basis of their heredity. As Buddhism and Jainism did not give much importance to the notion of birth for social status, they attracted the Vaishyas to the fold. Similarly, the Kshatriyas, that is the ruling class, were also unhappy with Brahminical domination. Briefly put, it was basically the discontent generated by the dominant position of the Brahmins in the society which contributed to the social support behind the new religious ideas. It is worth remembering that both Buddha and Mahavir came from Kshatriya class, but in their search for answers to the pressing problems of society, they went beyond boundaries set by their birth. Further, when we try to find out how their ideas were received by their contemporaries, we notice that they had a range of people responding to them: kings, big merchants, rich householders, Brahmins, and even courtesans. They all represented the new society which was emerged in the 6th century BC, and Buddha and Mahavira and other thinkers of those times, in their own ways, responded to the problems of a new social order. The Vedic ritualistic practices had ceased to be of much relevance to this new social order. Buddha and Mahavira were by no means the first to criticize the existing religious beliefs. Many religious preachers before them, like Kapila, Makkali Gosala, Ajit, Kesaka Milla, and Pakuda Kachayana, had already highlighted the evils of the Vedic religions. They also developed new ideas on life and God. New philosophers were also being preached. However, it was Buddha and Mahavira who provided an alternative religious order. This was the background which helped the emergence and establishment of new religious orders in the 6th century BC. Among these, Buddhism and Jainism were the most popular and well organized. We will now discuss the origin and development of Buddhism and Jainism. Gautam Buddha and the origin of Buddhism. Buddhism has founded by Gautam Buddha, who had been given the name Siddhartha by his parents. His father was Shuddhodhan, the chief of the Sakya clan, and mother was Maya, princess of the Kolya clan. He was born in the Lumini Grove, modern Lumbini, in Nepal Trai. We know this though as inscribed pillar of Ashok. The date of the birth of the Buddha is a matter of dispute, but most of the scholars place it before 566 BC. Buddha was deeply affected by the sight of an old man, a sick person, a dead body, and an ascetic. The misery of the human life cast a deep spell on Gautam. In order to find a solution to the misery of mankind, he left home at the age of 29. Gautam spent 6 years as a wandering ascetic. From a sage named Alara Kalama, he learned the technique of meditation and the teachings of Upanishad. Since these teachings did not lead Gautam to the final liberation, he left him with 5 Brahman ascetics. He practiced rigid austerities and resorted to different kind of self-torture to find the truth. Ultimately abandoning this, he went to Uruvel, near modern Bodh Gaya on the banks of the Niranjan river, and sat under a people tree, Bodhi tree. Here he attained the supreme knowledge, that is enlightenment, on the 49th day of his continuous meditation. Since then, he was called the Buddha, that is enlightened one. From here, he proceeded to the Deer Park at Sarnath, near Varanasi, and gave his first sermon, which is known as Dharma Chakra Pravartana, setting in motion the wheel of Dharma. Asvajit, Upali, Muggalan, Sariputra, and Anada were the first 5 disciples of Buddha. Buddha laid the foundation of Buddhist Sangha. He preached most of his sermons at Saravasti. Ananta Pindiga, the rich merchant of Saravasti, became his follower and made liberal donations to the Buddhist order. Soon, he started visiting various places to propagate his sermons. He visited Sarnath, Mathura, Rajgir, Gaya, and Patliputra. Kings like Bimbisar, Ajasatru of Magध, Prasenjit of Kosala, and Udyan of Kausambi accepted his doctrines and became his disciples. He also visited Kapilavastu and converted his foster mother and his son Rahul to his faith. At the age of 80 in 486 BC, he died at Kushinagar, Kasia in Deoria district in UP, the capital of the Mallas. Let us examine the teachings of the Buddha, which became popular and gave a new direction to the religious ideas of the time. Teachings of Buddha. The basic teachings of the Buddha are contained in the 4 Noble Truths and the 8-fold Path. The following are the 4 Noble Truths. The world is full of suffering. All sufferings have a cause, that is desire, ignorance, and attachment are the causes of sufferings. The suffering could be removed by destroying its cause. In order to end suffering, one must know the right path. This path is the 8-fold path, that is Ashtangika Marg. The 8-fold path consists of the following principles. Finding the right view. It is to understand that the world is filled with sorrow generated by desire. The ending of desire will lead to the liberation of the soul. Right aim. It seeks to avoid the enjoyment of the senses and luxury. It aims to love humanity and increase the happiness of others. Right speech, which seeks to emphasize the speaking of truth always. Right action, which is understood to be unselfish action. Right livelihood. It instructs that a man should live by honest means. Right effort. It is the proper way of controlling one's senses so as to prevent bad thoughts. It is through correct mental exercises that one can destroy desire and attachment. Right mindfulness. It is the understanding of the idea that the body is impermanent and meditation is the means for the removal of worldly evils. Right concentration. The observation of it will lead to peace. Meditation will unravel the real truth. Buddhism laid great emphasis on the law of karma. According to this law, present is determined by the past actions. The condition of a man in this life and the next depends upon his own actions. Every individual is the maker of his own destiny. We are born again and again to reap the fruits of our karma. If an individual has no sins, he is not born again. Thus, the doctrine of karma is the essential part of the teaching of Buddha. Buddha preached Nirvana, the ultimate goal in the life of a man. It means the shedding of all desires and ending of sufferings, which finally leads to freedom from rebirth. By a process of elimination of desire, one can attain nirvana. Therefore, Buddha preached that annihilation of desire is the real problem. Prayers and sacrifices will not end the desire. So, unlike the emphasis on rituals and ceremonies in Vedic religion, he laid emphasis on the moral life of an individual. Buddha neither accepted nor rejected the existence of God. He was more concerned about the individual and his actions. Buddhism also did not believe in the existence of soul. Besides these, Buddha laid stress on the certain other aspects. Buddha emphasized on the spirit of love. Love could be expressed on all living beings by following ahimsa, that is non-killing. Though the principle was well understood, it was not emphasized as much as in Jainism. An individual should pursue the middle path, and both severe asceticism as well as luxurious lives are to be avoided. Teachings of Buddha put forward a serious challenge to the existing Brahminical ideas. Buddha's liberal and democratic approach quickly attracted the people of all sections. His attacks on the caste system and the supremacy of the Brahmins was welcomed by the people of the lower orders. Irrespective of caste and sex, people were taken into the Buddhist order. In Buddhism, salvation lay in one's good deeds. So there was no need of a priest or middleman to achieve nirvana, the ultimate goal of life. Buddha rejected the authority of the Vedas and condemned animal sacrifices. He protested against the complicated and meaningless rituals. He said that neither a sacrifice to gods can wash away sin, nor any prayer of any priest do any good to a sinner. Buddhism in a very short period emerged into an organized religion, and Buddha's teachings were codified. The Buddhist canons, that is collection of teachings, are divided into three sections, namely the Sutta Pitaka, consisted of 5 sections, that is Nikayas, of religious discourses and sayings of Buddha. The fifth section contains the Jataka tales, that is birth stories of Buddha. The Vinaya Pitaka contains rules of the monastic disciplines. The Abhidhamma Pitaka contains the philosophical ideas of teachings of Buddha. It is written in the form of questions and answers. Development of Buddhism. Let us examine the factors which contributed to the popularity of Buddhism. Spread of Buddhism. Even during the lifetime of its founder, Buddhism was accepted by a large section of people. For example, people of Magध, Kosal and Kausambi had embraced Buddhism. The republics of Sakyas, Vajjis and Mallas also followed the process. Later on, Ashoka and Kanishka made Buddhism state religion, and it spread into Central Asia, West Asia and Sri Lanka. This appeal of Buddhism to a large section of population was because of following factors. Emphasis on practical morality, an easily acceptable solution to the problems of mankind, and a simple philosophy attracted the masses towards Buddhism. The ideas of social equality laid down in the codes of Buddhism made many lay followers accept Buddhism. Merchants like Anantapindiga and courtiers like Amrapali accepted the faith because they got due respect in this religion. The use of popular language, that is Pali, to explain the doctrines also helped in the spread of the religion. This was because the Brahminical religion had limited itself to the use of Sanskrit, which was not the language of the masses. The patronage extended by kings was another important reason for the rapid growth of Buddhism. For example, according to tradition, Ashok sent his son Mahendra and his daughter Sanghamitra to Sri Lanka to preach Buddhism. He also established many monasteries and contributed liberally to the Sangha. The institution of Sangha had helped to organize the spread of Buddhism effectively. The institution of Sangha. The Sangha was the religious order of the Buddhists. It was a well-organized and powerful institution which popularized Buddhism. Membership was open to all persons irrespective of caste above 15 years of age. Criminals, lepers and persons affected by infectious diseases were not given admission into the Sangha. Initially, Buddha was not in favor of admitting women in the Sangha. However, he admitted them at the repeated request of his chief disciple, Ananda, and his foster mother, Ma Pajapati Gautami. On admission, the monks had to ceremonially shave their head and wear yellow or saffron robes. Monks were expected to go on a daily round in order to preach Buddhism and seek alms. During the 4 months of the rainy season, they took up a fixed abode and meditated. This was called the retreat or Vasa. The Sanghas also promoted education among the people. Unlike Brahmanism, people of different orders of the society had entry to education. Naturally, the non-Brahmins who were deprived of education got access to education in Buddhism, and thus education reached wider sections of the society. The Sangha was governed by democratic principles and was empowered to enforce discipline amongst its members. There was a code of conduct for the monks and nuns, and they were bound to obey it. The Sangha had the power to punish the erring members. Buddhist councils. According to tradition, shortly after the death of Buddha, the first Buddhist council was held in 483 BC, 483 BC, in the Saptaparni cave near Rajgriha. Ma Kassapa presided over the assembly. All the teachings of the Buddha were divided into two Pitakas, namely Vinaya Pitaka and Sutta Pitaka. The text of the Vinaya Pitaka was established under the leadership of Upali, and those of Sutta Pitaka was settled under the leadership of Ananda. The second council was held at Vaishali in 383 BC. The monks of Vaishali and Patliputra had accepted certain rules, which were declared as contrary to the teachings of the Buddha by the monks of Kausambi and Avanti. The council failed to bring about a compromise between the two opposing groups. Hence, the council ended in a permanent split of the Buddhist order into Sthaviravadins and Mahasanghikas. Sthaviravadins and Mahasanghikas. The former, that is the Sthaviravadins, upheld the orthodox Vinayak Pitaka, while the latter, that is the Mahasanghikas, favored the new rules and their further relaxation. The third council was held at Patliputra during the reign of Ashoka under the chairmanship of Mogaliputta Tissa. In this council, the philosophical interpretations of the doctrine of the Buddha were collected into the third Pitaka called Abhidhamma Pitaka. An attempt was made in this council to free the Buddhist order from the dissidents and innovations. Heretical monks numbering 60,000 were expelled from the order. The true canonical literature was defined and authoritatively settled to eliminate all disruptive tendencies. The fourth council was held during the reign of Kanishka in Kashmir. This council was a gathering of this council, that is the fourth council, was a gathering of Hinayanists in North India. Hinayanist in North India. It compiled three commentaries, that is Vibhashas, of three Pitakas. It decided certain controversial questions of difference that rose between the Sarvastivada teachers of Kashmir and Gandhar Buddhist schools. In the second council held at Vaishali, the Buddhist order was split into two schools, namely the Sthaviravadins and the Mahasanghikas. The Sthaviravadins followed strict monastic life and rigid disciplinary laws as originally prescribed. The group which followed a modified disciplinary rules was called the Mahasanghikas. Mahayanism developed after the fourth Buddhist council. In opposition to the group, the Hinayan sect, who believed in the orthodox teaching of Buddha, those who accepted the new ideas were called the Mahayana sect. They made an image of Buddha and worshipped it as God. In the 1st century AD, during the period of Kanishka, some doctrinal changes were made. Some points have been missing. Buddha delivered his first sermon in Bodh Gaya. Severe asceticism was preached by Buddha. Buddha did not believe in rebirth. Buddha believed in the existence of God. अच्छा ये statements हैं, ठीक है. Buddha did not believe in the existence of God. या फिर Buddha neither accepted nor rejected. अभी पढ़ा मैंने पीछे. Origins of Jainism. According to Jain traditions, 24 Tirthankars were responsible for the original development of Jain religion and philosophy. Of these, the first 22 are of doubtful historicity. In the case of last two, Parsavnath and Mahavir, Buddhist works also confirm their historicity. Parsavnath, according to Jain tradition, the 23rd Tirthankar. Parsavnath was the son of King Ashvasen of Varanasi and his queen Vama. He abandoned the throne at the age of 30 and became an ascetic. He received enlightenment after 84 days of penance. He died at the age of 100 years, nearly 250 years before Mahavir. Parsavnath believed in the eternity of matter. He left behind him a good number of followers. The followers of Parsavnath wore a white garment. Thus, it is clear that even before Mahavir, some kind of Jain faith existed. Mahavir. The 24th Tirthankar was Vardhaman Mahavir. He was born in Kundagram, Basukund, a suburb of Vaishali, Muzaffarpur district, Bihar in 540 BC. His father, Siddhartha, was the head of Janatrikas, a Kshatriya clan. His mother was Trishula, a Lichavi princess. Vardhaman was given a good education and was married to Yashoda. He had a daughter by her. At the age of 30, Vardhaman left his home and became an ascetic. At first, he wore a single garment which he abandoned after 13 months and began to wander as a naked monk. For 12 years, he lived the life of an ascetic following severe austerities. In the 13th year of his asceticism, at the age of 42, he attained the supreme knowledge. He was later known as Mahavir, the supreme hero, or Jina, the conqueror. He was also hailed as Neer Granth, free from fetters. From the next 30 years, he moved from place to place and preached his doctrines in Koshal, Magध and further east. He wandered for 8 months in a year and spent the 4 months of the rainy season in some famous towns of the eastern India. He often visited the courts of Bimbisar and Ajatasatru. He died at Pava near Rajgiriya in Patna district at the age of 72, 468 BC. Teachings of Mahavir. Mahavir accepted most of the religious doctrines laid down by the Parsavnath. However, he made some alterations and additions to them. Parsavnath advocated the following 4 principles. They are truth, non-violence, non-possession, not to receive anything which was not voluntarily given. To this, Mahavir added celibacy, that is brahmacharya. Mahavir believed that soul, that is Jiva, and matter, that is Ajiva, are the 2 basic existing elements, Jiva and Ajiva. By means of continued efforts, the soul can be relieved of bondage. This is the final liberation, that is moksha of the soul. The liberated soul then becomes the pure soul. According to Jainism, man is the creator of his own destiny and he could attain moksha by pursuing a life of purity, virtue and renunciation. Moksha, that is nirvana, can be attained by observing the following 3 principles, that is Ratnatraya, that is तीन प्रिंसिपल्स यानी कि 3 रत्न भी बोलते हैं इनको, राइट बिलीफ, राइट नॉलेज, राइट एक्शन. He advocated a life of severe asceticism and extreme penance for the attainment of nirvana or the highest spiritual state. He believed that the world was not created by any supreme creator. The world functions according to an eternal law of decay and development. He thought that all objects, animate and inanimate, had a soul. He believed that they feel pain or the influence of injury. He rejected the authority of Vedas and objected to Vedic rituals and supremacy of the Brahmins. A code of conduct was prescribed both for householders and for monks. For the purpose of avoiding evil karmas, a householder had to observe the following 5 vows. These are non-injury, non-stealing, non-adultery, speaking the truth, and non-possession. It was also prescribed that a householder should feed cooked food to the needy every day. He preached that lay worshippers should not take to agriculture since this involved the destruction of plants and insects. A monk had to observe certain strict rituals and rules. He had to abandon all worldly possessions. He had to root out every hair of his head by his own hands. He could walk only during the day, taking care that he did not kill or injure any being. He had to train himself so as not to be affected by objects of the senses. Jainism believed that the monastic life was essential to attain salvation and a householder could not attain it. According to tradition, the original doctrine taught by Mahavir was contained in the 14 old texts known as Purvas. In the first council at Patliputra, Sthulabhadra divided the Jain canon into 12 angas or sections. This was accepted by Svetambars. However, the Digambars refused to accept this, claiming that all the old scriptures were lost. At the second council held at Vallabhi, new additions were made in the form of upangas or minor sections. Among the 12 angas, the Acharanga Sutta and Bhagavati Sutta are the most important. While the former, that is the Acharanga Sutta, while the former deals with the code of conduct which a Jain monk is required to follow, the later, that is Bhagavati Sutta, expounds the Jain doctrines in a comprehensive manner. Development of Jainism. Teachings of Mahavir became very popular among the masses and different sections of society were attracted to it. Like Buddhism, in Jainism also the change of time, a lot of change came in. We will now see what contributed to spread of this religion and what were the developments in it. Spread of Jainism. Mahavir had 11 disciples known as Gandharas or heads of schools. Arya Sudharma was the only Gandhara who survived Mahavir and became the first Thera, that is chief preceptor of the Jain order. He died 20 years after Mahavir's death. The Jain order in the days of the late Nanda king was administered by two Theras, Shambhuta Vijaya and Bhadrabahu. The sixth Thera was Bhadrabahu, a contemporary of the Maurya king Chandragupta Maurya. The followers of Mahavir slowly spread over the whole country. In many regions, royal patronage was bestowed upon Jainism. According to Jain tradition, Udayin, the successor of Ajatasattu, was a devoted Jain. Jain monks were seen on the banks of a river Indus when Alexander invaded India. Chandragupta Maurya was a follower of Jainism and he migrated with Bhadrabahu to the south and spread Jainism. During the early centuries of the Christian era, Mathura and Ujjain became great centers of Jainism. The success of Jainism was more remarkable than Buddhism. One of the important causes for the success was the popular dialect Prakrit. Religious literature was also written in Ardhamagdi, used in place of Sanskrit by Mahavir and his followers. The simple and homely morals prescribed to the masses attracted the people. The patronage extended by kings helped Jainism to gain a place in the minds of the people. Jain councils. Towards the close of Chandragupta Maurya's rule, a terrible famine broke out in South Bihar. It lasted for about 12 years. Bhadrabahu and his disciples migrated to Sravan Belgol in Karnataka. Other Jains remained in Magad with Sthulabhadra as their leader. They summoned a council at Pataliputra at about 300 BC. In that council, the sacred teachings of Mahavir were divided into 12 Vangas. The second Jain council was held at Vallabhi in Gujarat in 512 AD and was presided over by Devarti Kshema Sarma. The purpose of this council was to collect the sacred texts and write them down systematically. However, this time, the 12th Anga drawn at the first council was lost. All the remaining Angas were written in Ardh Magadi. Sects. The split in the Jain order is widest from the 3rd century BC. The differences over wearing a garment was apparent even during the times of Mahavir. The followers of Bhadrabahu, after their return from Sravan Belgol to Magda, refused to acknowledge the canon holding that all the 14 Purvas were lost. Moreover, a wide gulf had developed between those who emigrated and those who stayed in Magda. The latter had become accustomed to wearing white garments and made a departure from Mahavir's teachings, while the former still continued going naked and strictly followed his teachings. Hence, the first split in the Jain order was between the Digambars, sky-clad or naked, and Shvetambars, that is clad in white. During the later years, further splits took place among both the sections, the most important of them being one that renounced idol worship altogether and devoted itself to the worship of the scriptures. They were called the Terapanthis among the Shvetambars and the Samayas among the Digambars. This sect came into existence about the 6th century AD. Other heterodox ideas. Many non-Vedic ideas were prevalent in this period. They later developed into small sects. Among them, the Ajivika sect had a considerable number of followers with a recognized organization. Ajivikas. The Ajivikas are said to be Sudra Sannyasins. The sect was said to be established by Nandavacha, who was followed by Kisa Sankicha. The third religious chief was Makkali Gosala, who popularized this sect. He denied the theory of karma and argued that man is subject to the laws of nature. The Ajivikas believed that the thought and deed of an individual were predetermined, that is, decided before birth. They did not believe that there was any special cause for either the misery of human beings or for their deliverance. They did not believe in human effort and held that all creatures were helpless against destiny. Gosala maintained that all creatures had to face misery and it would end after the completion of fixed cycles. No human effort would reduce or lengthen the period. Gosala's followers centered around Sravasti, the capital of Kosala, where Gosala preached and died 16 years before Mahavir. Other ideas. The Charvakas believed in complete materialism. They held that an individual's body is formed of matter and finally would end in matter. Therefore, the aim of human life should be to enjoy all the material pleasures of life. Purana Kasapa preached the doctrine of akriya or non-action. He was a Brahman teacher whose main doctrine was that the action did not lead to either merit or demerit. According to him, even if a man killed all the creatures on earth, he would not incur any sin. Similarly, he would not earn any merit through a good deed or even by standing on the bank of Ganges. Similarly, self-control, gifts, and truthfulness would not earn him any credit. Ajit Kesakambilin preached that everything ended with death and there is no further life after death. He did not believe in the fruits of good or bad acts or persons possessing higher or supernatural powers. According to this sect, there is nothing wrong in enjoying the pleasures of the world and there is no sin in killing. Pakud Kachen preached the doctrine of Asasva Tavad. According to it, there are 7 elements which are immutable and do not in any way contribute to pleasure or pain. The body is ultimately dissolved into these 7 elements. Impact of the new religious movements. The rise and development of the new religious ideas had brought some significant changes in the contemporary social life. Following are some of the important changes. The idea of social equality was popularized in this period. The Buddhists and Jains did not give any importance to the caste system. They accepted members of different castes in their religious order. This was a great threat to the age-long domination of the Brahman society. Acceptance of women in the Buddhist order also had an important impact in the society because this gave women equal status with men in the society. Brahmanical texts had assigned an inferior position to traders. Sea voyages were also condemned. But as Buddhists and Jains did not give any importance to caste and did not look down upon sea voyages, so the trading community was very much encouraged by these new religious ideas. Moreover, the emphasis on karma by these new religious ideas of the future life also indirectly favored the activities on the trading community. The new religions gave importance to language like Prakrit, Pali, and Ardh Magadhi. Buddhist and Jain philosophers were discussed in these languages and later canons were written in the local languages. This paved the way for the development of vernacular literature. Thus the Jains, for the first time, gave a literary shape to the mixed dialect Ardh Magadhi by writing their canons in this dialect. Now let us sum up. In this unit, you have seen the emergence and establishment of new religious ideas in the 6th century BC in North India. The contemporary socio-economic needs largely contributed to the emergence of these new religious ideas. Among these, Buddhism and Jainism became very popular among the people. In spite of some differences, both the religions put emphasis on humanity, moral life, karma, and ahimsa. Both of them were highly critical of caste system, domination of the Brahmins, animal sacrifices, and the ideas of God. This was a direct challenge to the existing Vedic religion. Besides this, you have also learned about other heterodox sects like Ajivikas and their ideas. All these brought about a significant change in the attitude of the people and they, as a result, began to question the age-long supremacy of the Brahminical religion. तो पिताकास क्या होते हैं? बुद्धिस्ट रिलीजियस टेक्स्ट. पूर्वास क्या होते हैं? जैन रिलीजियस टेक्स्ट. शिज्म क्या होता है? डिवीजन ऑफ एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इनटू टू और मोर ग्रुप्स. तीर्थंकार refers to Jain preachers who acquired supreme knowledge.